Hey, it was your first lesson video. So with your thumb pick, if you use it in the capacity that we're using a pick right now with that same range of motion, totally go ahead and use it for when you're picking the single note stuff that we're going over, as opposed to when we're playing rhythm guitar, which is when I'm going to encourage you to use a regular pick or at least reassess whether you ever want to. That said, if you do want to use your thumb pick, you just want to make sure to be duplicating the motion that we would be with a pick were we using a pick. And bring it in today. I can't really comment that much, but the point is that, like we discussed during the lesson, he said recovering picks from his existence. There we go. So, yeah, like, I'm using a pick. I'm holding it like this. It's, it's a guitar pick. And so if you are using your thumb pick, you just want to make sure that you're using that nice wide range of motion that we were just talking about. And there's assignment one. But first, I've already sent you a video, theoretically, when you're watching this, called How to Hold the Guitar, which is going to have you, in case you didn't just watch it, going boink, dink, boom. The fretboard's no longer all the way over there. And then we have two thumb positions. Classical, which is like I'm playing bar chords or stuff with reaches in it. And then thumb over top, which is not arm over top. Your palm won't be up here. Your thumb won't be. It's just I'm hooking my thumb over the top to get leverage. And you can drop at your shoulder and elbow at rest, which is a lot less tension in your arm and chin. So yeah, there's those two positions. And if we were going to generalize about when do we use thumb over top, it's things with bends and nuance in them. I mean, as obviously like a lot of the guitarists you like, never leave thumb over top position. Like unless they're playing a bar chord exactly. But there we go. It's for getting leverage, and then most people play their first position chords that way. For starters, because we often need to use our thumb in a muting capacity when we're playing in first position. Which if no one ever said that to you, when you're playing C, I'm actually muting C, the bass string with my thumb, which requires a lot less than what you're doing right now. Like a fuck ton less. Like all we have to do is make contact with it whatsoever, and it mutes. And I mean touch it like I'm touching something, not push down on it.
Oh, I see.
And then when you're strumming, you can strum the whole instrument, and you get click. No, which is what we're going for. I get, and that's bringing up the concept of range of motion. So there's the good news, and like how do I hit 4 strings for D and so forth. Same issue, like it's totally fine to hit when you're playing D. Ultimately, at some point, you'll want to be able to strum just 4 strings. But if you hit the 5th string, it still sounds fine. It's if you hit the 6th string where it's like a huge clam. So yeah. So there's one reason that we find ourselves using our thumb over top position, so that we can just be in a more ergonomic, cozy position. But if you started from, I assume everything goes like this, then cool. So either way, none of that ever. Cool. So let's just go rhythm stuff. Like pause your video, and first I want you to do this just on one chord. Or theoretically, you could be playing open strings; it would just sound shittier. And go after you examine the actual range of motion that you're going to be using with some I'm going to strum down a couple of times. Disregard rhythm until it's actually feeling more intuitive, less mechanical. So you might just go like down, up until that gets easy, one single instance, then do it twice. Then you'll have a much easier time going, now I'm going to do it. My representation of our little sections finish as we go headspace right there. That'll be easier having spent 5 minutes just going, okay, this is what's going to happen, and then going. And I want you to do it on just one chord. You can go a little slower than I just was, but the point is to simulate a situation where you have to use this wider range of motion where it'll sound like. So there we go. Intentionally, and you can just pick chords where there's only 6 strings being played, like G chords and E chords and stuff if you want. But either way, right then, you can de-emphasize the left-hand concepts we've been talking about and put your focus mostly over there as well as your visual focus. Reminder, never look at the page. Cool. So we just talked about how to hold the guitar and rhythm guitar, and then beginning to talk about left thumb position. So there we are, and try it with your thumb pick. If that's just disco and it sounds good, it's working. You don't really need to go past that, but try a pick too. Now that you know the range of motion you're supposed to use. Cool. Other stuff we talked about: A minor pentatonic. It looks like when you learned pentatonic one, you're at the third fret, which is a little harder than being up the neck. So yeah, there we go. And as discussed, when I'm going 5/7 like that, my middle finger is actually touching the fret. It's like it's fretting. There's no downside. If I'm doing this, I can do whatever on the string back behind. It doesn't change anything. So just like we wouldn't seesaw going between index and ring, if I wanted to go like, if I was anything involving that finger, I'd actually want it to be fretting there, chilling, not actually on the string. So there's this feeling of it's attached to my ring finger and they move together in that capacity, whether it's because we might use it to fret at any moment. And I mean, as we move from string to string, I'm literally going, I'm pushing down with one finger, I'm pushing down with three fingers, I'm pushing down with one finger, I'm pushing down with three fingers. And if you wanted to, you could do shit like, just go like, but really we're just talking about your middle finger because when we get to the third string of your instrument, we're now in the most common bend territory. Most commonly bent note in the history of guitar music is this exact note in pentatonic 1. And as discussed during the lesson, we are talking about either a half step bend or even a whole step bend or even farther, which is just brute force and you're not going to break a string. It just seems like that way. When you're actually going to break a string is tuning. So this would be an example of a time where we need them over top position to get that leverage. And it never went that you were meant to do bends like this or whatever, which is what everybody does at first because it's more visually demonstrative and you can see what you're doing. Cool. So on the third string, maybe just do some like, just there, because when we move to the second string, it's going to be in reach position, which then our middle finger, just like you're doing now and across the room from me, is at the seventh fret. Which while we're at it, we might go like, we might actually hit that note. But the point is that when we bend there, we're using the force of both of those fingers and our thumb to push up really fucking hard and far. And you're doing a good job of keeping your first finger at the fifth fret because we might do things like, then that was just one single pick. I know you get it conceptually, but right now we're just going to go like bends exist and maybe going note, bend will be our best bet just to make sure your first finger hangs out where it was. And again, yeah, there you go. And before you try this, you will have already been going on the string that's easier to play and get your bend motion down and then and you can totally just pause that and just be like, work on it. And there is some hand arm changing, but either way, there we go. We have to bend really far, and like we talked about, if I was extending up into pentatonic 2, I'd end up right on the finger that we want to be on already. Anyway, so yeah, it's not that we don't use our pinky in the position index pinky, like I said during the lesson, we need a compelling reason to depart from 4 fingers, 4 frets. For instance, I'm playing lyrical blues stuff with this finger needing to be over there versus just 4 finger playing. Like for jazz guitarists, it goes, you play 4 finger across the board, but then if there's a bend note, you swap your ring out for your pinky for a second. Anyway, it's just 2 different kinds of riffs, and we're emphasizing bends happen. We also talked about, double stops, just successfully getting your hand into a position. And this is the only time you're going to use your pinky in this entire pattern is for the second note scale. Once you've done that, you're done with it. So it seems like you're tempted to do this thing where you like solve like a deductive reasoning problem and use your pinky or whatever. So we don't mean that. That's a different thing. But yeah, so getting up high enough, as we talked about during the lesson, where you have space there and you can go and hear both notes at the same time. I'm not squeezing those like with a pinch on my right hand. I'm just hitting 2 strings at the same time. So yeah, we're gonna do that on strings 5 and 4, 4 and 3, and 3 and 2. index ring. So there we go. We'd be doing something like that. Would also be anything where we want to keep that high note ringing out. And this is very much like, it seems like a thing happens for you where you go to do this and you put your middle finger a string too high for some reason. Like, we mean I'm on one string playing shit. Like, this is a thing I've seen you do a couple times today. So yeah, that's, we mean I'm on string playing stuff. Cool. And what we're working on here are things that are not intuitive about basic playing styles and things that you already do versions of that. Cool. So that's what's up. We want to avoid any of this. And so for all your pentatonic, you can just I'm playing notes, I'm thinking about this, being really mindful of using your finger like that, just playing up and down it, totally disregard rhythm. I also suggested that you do hammer-ons on the way up and pull-offs on the way down, just to emphasize your index finger position and seeing how well that's going. It really does just go move decisively. With the pull-offs, if you ever heard and it died out, it wasn't that you needed to pluck the string more. It's probably just that you weren't actually fretting successfully with your first finger. So that's not something I've seen you personally do today yet. So there we go. So yeah, we've got just hammer-ons on the way up, pull-offs on the way down. It's absolutely not imperative that you be playing in rhythm while you're in the conscious interaction stage with that. Cool. And then we were going to talk about just on strings 1, 2, and 3, going hammer on, bam, hammer on, bam, hammer on, bam, and we still mean exactly pentatonic 1, and you'd want to do this only having, and I don't mean a pinky bend, like you were actually just using your pinky to bend. Yeah, totally. So as discussed, your pinky's not actually going to do anything after the second note in the entire pattern, and I did on the 6th string, on the left string. But cool, all good. So there you go, just work on bending in exactly those 3 positions of your hand, just here, here, here. And anything any improvisation you want to do. And then it is really just a brute force thing. Cool, so I think that's pretty much everything that we talked about, aside from note name memorization, where it's a geography test, not a deductive reasoning problem. You need to do some kind of randomization process, like we're going G and C and D. Just go which one's D, blank, which one's A, some kind of randomization where they actually really stick in there. That was the if 4 of my friends walked in analogy. So there's a bunch of funsies, and just get used to playing some first position stuff, how we want to be, and just go forth and apply this to everything we talked about, as discussed, am I memorizing or am I playing all the time? And when you're memorizing, you can totally disregard rhythm, learning the dance steps, and then we switch to now I'm playing. Okay, let's see what happens. Totally different part of our brain, totally different headspace. And for most people, if they do about 2 to 5 more reps of the thing before moving on, then what's intuitive? What happens for us? We go, oh, I see what's going to be happening there, and move on. Not 25 more times, but 2 or 5 more times. It might have really stuck in there in a meaningful way. So there you go. Think about some songs for next lesson. I know you brought in a bunch of stuff, and we'll absolutely play music next time I see you.